It's waxing lyrical, baby.
Hello, Waxers, and welcome to Waxing Lyrical, Mainz and Dutts. I'm your host, Mainz, my colleague, a little sombre in the danger zone and rain for this Mr. Neil Dutton. How are we, Neil?
Just like my mother, not angry, just disappointed.
That's how it goes. This week, we will obviously get on to talk about the Super Bowl, give it a review in two ways. In a normal kind of hot takey, big picture kind of way. Then we will also look at it from a I have some questions, fantasy related, based on the game, and then we will finish the show looking at the 5 coaching hires so far and what impact they may or may not have on your fantasy teams moving forward. If at all, we will see some interesting hires. A lot of them from the Philadelphia Eagles, it seems.
The coach factory.
40%. Yeah, the coach. Just factories all over said Philadelphia Eagles. But without further ado, Neil, let's get on with the Super Bowl review.
Time now for the main event.
It's a simple question, really, because we talk very much analytically and almost impassively at times in relation to our teams. It's easier for me because my team's garbage and I don't like them. But you are very good at hiding your emotions when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles when discussing on this show, when you write, and throughout your other ventures on TalkSport and the like. However, you're a massive fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, and it shouldn't be denied. And as a man who's seen you walk out of houses and throw fits in relation to said team, which is fine. How do you feel after the game? And is it a game that will stick with you for a long time based on the fact you didn't win it?
It's very strange. I mean, obviously, while I've been watching, the Eagles have gone to 3 Super Bowls. They've won 1, lost 2. The loss to the Patriots annoyed me just because the Patriots are the best team in the NFL, but I felt the Eagles didn't turn up fully. Some could say that the Patriots were taping. I won't, but some might say it. Obviously, then the Eagles beat the Patriots in 2017, and the rush, the elation lasted months until the next season started, pretty much. It's strange. Probably by Monday afternoon, at no stage during the second half, I wasn't fuming. I wasn't, throwing things. It was like they can't stop them. They can't stop them. It was like it's like when you play one of those like turn-based strategy games and you realise that, you've got a 72 and you're going up against a 99. It's like, this isn't going to work. It was like, yeah, the Eagles had the Chiefs in the first half. And I'm not saying the Eagles took their foot off the gas. I'm saying the Chiefs found another gear. Which, Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, Patrick Mahomes against Jonathan Gannon. That was going to happen. So I wasn't gutted because I still think, from a neutral point of view, you can disagree with this. It was a bloody good game.
No, I don't think anyone's disagreeing with the fact that it was an excellent game. If they are, they're very silly.
And people involved in the Chiefs, like Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, have both come out and said, look, Jalen Hurts could have been the MVP of that game, even though he lost. So I'm not going to go down the refs cost them that. They didn't. It was a ticky-tacky call. It was given. So what? The Eagles defensively didn't turn up. Now, whether that's the field, whether it's the ultra vanilla scheme, whatever. The strength of the Eagles did not express itself. And, the Chiefs did a wonderful job of keeping Patrick Mahomes clean. So then it was going to be a case of, okay, well, now you're going to have to go and you're going to need a touchdown on every possession. And people have come out and said it, the drive that ended in a field goal that put the Eagles up 6 points, that felt a little bit, no, you've lost it there. It's if you go up 6 on the Chiefs, what does it matter? You may as well be up 3 as you're going to be 6. Try and get up 10. And they didn't. And, it went down to the wire. Let's not forget, that the Chiefs waited until the very last minute to put them away. Obviously, they could do. That's the way it went. But I wasn't. I'm not disappointed. I'm disappointed. I'm not angry, and I'm ready for the next season to start now. So to go again. I know there's going to be changes and difference in all the Eagles free agents, but I got past it a lot earlier than I thought. Now, whether it's because I'm getting older, getting mellower, or whether it's just I'm a sadist, I could play. The season could start tomorrow, and I'd be ready for it.
I think it's interesting, right? And I don't, we'll come on to kind of the forward thinking of it, but this was a team that I know I said they'd win 13 games. I don't think many people did. I don't think many people saw them going to the Super Bowl at the start of the year. Maybe after, like, say, week 5 or 6, it was much clearer. There was a lot of questions on Jalen Hurts. There was questions on how they'd fit A.J. Brown into the scheme, although everyone knew he was talented. Did they have a good defense? I think that question still is out there, and I don't mean this in like some kind of revisionist history kind of way. Like, the reason I said the Eagles would go 13-3 or better was they didn't play anyone this year, and that's fine. That you just beat what's in front of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason they got a load of sacks was because they didn't really play anyone. And again, that's fine. But every time they did play someone, they did score points. Now, they may not have lost said games, but the more talented quarterbacks they played, the more points they scored. They played the most talented quarterback in the league, and he scored points. Okay? People like yourself, Ben Solak, have been calling into question Jonathan Gannon long before this season. And what I always find interesting about that, being 13-3, getting 72 sacks over the season, didn't change anybody's opinion on Jonathan Gannon. Didn't make anybody think, oh, look, he's turned over a new leaf. Because every time he did stuff in games that you won and dominated, people thought, he's still doing that thing, and it really annoys me. And if he does that in a big situation, it's probably going to cost us. And unfortunately, you were all right. And that's a shame, because everybody else on the team, especially on offense, is really good. We'll come on to Steichen and Gannon later on in the show in terms of their head coaching roles and whatever. And I'll be honest, I think one of them will be better head coach than he was coordinator, and maybe not the other one. But that's just the kind of way to work, because it's two very different jobs. I think there is now, I guess, questions on free agents, but it's still a team that most fan bases would want to be. And let's be honest and quite clear about this. It's in the NFC, and the NFC is garbage, hot mess garbage. Like, on the touchdown review, we won't do it here. We said, pick a Super Bowl game for next year. Like, you can be serious or non-serious. I was partially serious, and I picked the Cincinnati Bengals against the Detroit Lions. Now, that won't happen because, the league wouldn't allow it, first of all. Because, I know everybody watches the Super Bowl, but I doubt anybody's watching Cincinnati, Detroit. But also, like, you're like, but they got Jared Goff. You're like, yeah, I know. But look at the rest of the NFC. And if Aaron Rodgers goes to Las Vegas, for example, they're definitely the best team in that division. Okay, then you got to play Jalen Hurts. Fine. Okay. You've got to win a one-off game. Or you got to play Dak Prescott. Yeah, great. Dak Prescott is good, not great. We've already decided that. I think he's very much in that Jared Goff mode. He's probably better than Jared Goff. That's fine. But is the Cowboys roster better than the Lions roster will be next year? Maybe. I don't know. And this is where you start going, like, the Detroit Lions would be like third in the AFC North. And I'm not sure the AFC North is the best AFC division in the conference. So it's just the way it goes that is it disappointing you don't win the game? Yeah. Am I going to say, you'll be back next year? No, because that's not how it works. It never does, and it never has done unless you've been the New England Patriots. But are there reasons to think short, medium, and probably long term, are we all right? Are we on the right track to have a chance to be back again? Yes, that I haven't got a problem with.
I think it's one of those things we've seen that this offense, assuming Brian Johnson becomes offensive coordinator, he's the Eagles quarterback coach, so they probably won't change the scheme too much on offense. We've seen that the offense works, especially with the now legal fourth down ruck play. So the offense works. The defense is going to drop
right
off.
Now, before you finish, like that play is so over. Like there is, I mean, the NFL does not allow unstoppable plays. That play is unstoppable, and there's a possibility people get hurt. If the competition committee don't ban that, I will be amazed. Now, that's not against Philadelphia. That's just like, if I'm every other team, I am doing some sort of that position. If I have a quarterback of Jalen Hurts caliber, obviously, but like the NFL is not allowing it.
I'm just thinking, the Eagles' offense looks good. They're going to upgrade at running back. I think Miles Sanders played himself off the Eagles through the playoffs, whether that was through his usage or whether, it was the way the team wanted to use him. I don't think he'll be back. So we'll see a change at running back. They've still got A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, Jalen Hurts. The bulk of the offensive line is still going to be in place. So this offense, I think this offense can replicate to an extent what it did last year. The defense is going to drop off, but we've seen when your offense clicks, your defense only needs to be league average. If the Eagles can retain enough pieces or draft and develop to keep this defense league average, the Eagles are going to contend again just because they'll score points. And you have to ask yourself this. Now, let's assume Aaron Rodgers gets traded. The Packers are probably going to trade him to the AFC.
Correct.
So who are the best quarterbacks in the NFC if Aaron Rodgers goes?
Right now, Neil, the favourites in Vegas for the NFC have zero quarterbacks who we know can start next year. Mm-hmm. And that is the San Francisco 49ers. We have no idea who is playing quarterback for them, which basically answers your question.
Yeah. So as long as the Eagles' offense can remain and, can continue to do what it is, and if Jalen Hurts can take another step forward as a passer, the Eagles are going to be fine. I don't think they're going to win 14 games. They're not probably going to, as you say, statistically, they're not going to get to the Super Bowl next year, as it only seems to be the Patriots or the Chiefs that are allowed to keep going back.
Yep.
But I don't think this season slams their window shut.
Let's move on to a Chiefs question, Neil. And we've been doing this for 10 years now, and one of our favourite topics throughout that whole time has been Big Red Andy Reid, for a multitude of different reasons, whether it be his time in Philadelphia or his time mostly with the Kansas City Chiefs, because in theory this show has mirrored that time with the Chiefs. Right now, Big Red is 3 wins behind Tom Landry for 4th overall in most career wins. Has now won 2 Super Bowls.
Same as Landry,
although Landry did win an NFL title. But yeah. And we're starting to see a kind of pathway where is this guy now in the running for a top 5 head coach ever?
Yeah. He's got the skins on the wall. He's shown he can adapt. This is a man who has been successful with a litany of different quarterbacks in the age of offensive football. Hates the running game, so obviously he's more attuned to the modern. Although the Chiefs did run the ball very well on Sunday. I was going to say, yeah, to acknowledge that.
Which is ironic, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Big Red is, as I say, from an offensive architecture and play calling point of view, he's as good as there's been in the 20-odd years I've been watching the NFL, and now he's starting to win the big games consistently. It helps he's got an all-world quarterback. But as I say, it's not like he was a 4-12, 8-8 coach without Patrick Mahomes. He's won double digits every year he's been in Kansas City, except one when he won 9. He's been an unqualified success for the Chiefs. having been mostly successful for the Eagles. As I say, Belichick is obviously way out on top of everyone. Then you have other coaches, Chuck Noll, Bill Walsh, Paul Brown. These people, Big Red's up there because it's consistent success over a long, long period of time.
What I 100% agree, right? What I will say is, having Patrick Mahomes helps, obviously, mask silly decisions. However, it doesn't stop Andy Reid from having silly decisions, because although he is a great offensive mind, he's definitely not shouting "hit me on 18" at a blackjack table, is he? Let's be that like he attempts to kick a field goal from 35 yards, which gets missed, and he scores to go up 7 and decides to kick the extra point to go up 8, not go for 2. Again, I stress, with all-world quarterback Patrick Mahomes, who hadn't been stopped all half, to basically ice the game. So then we have to get into some kind of discussion in relation to holding and all that good stuff. It's just the way Big Red is. Wonderful coach. And we assume by, I don't know, early October, he'll be the 4th winningest coach. 2 Super Bowls is pretty. That's how you do these things.
Incredible that the offensive coordinators he had when he didn't win a Super Bowl get head coaching jobs, but the one who's won 2 of them has to go to Washington to be an offensive coordinator again. Odd that.
I believe Eric Bieniemy has been interviewed 16 times for a head coaching job and has never got one. And I'm sure there's no reason for that whatsoever.
Yes, he must give very bad interviews. He must literally walk in with his no tie on, shirt hanging out, burping and farting, and having not shaved. He must be an awful interviewer.
I look forward to him being the head coach. That's probably a Freudian slip if ever I had one. Offensive coordinator of the Washington Commanders next year. I'm hoping that he don't let him out the building, because I believe he's there now. Neil, I have a question on one of the players. Based on the way AJ Brown has played this season, and specifically in the Super Bowl, do you believe that the owner of the Atlanta Falcons and the owner of the Tennessee Titans should both be fired? I'm going to explain why for each one. The owner of the Tennessee Titans should fire everyone because they allowed AJ Brown to leave the situation. But not only because they allowed them to leave, but because he allowed a situation where he was tricked into believing that AJ Brown had one skill set, which is clearly false.
Do you want the numbers?
You, Arthur Billionaire Smith, I don't give it to my best players in the best positions. How do you continue to have a job?
Do we need the numbers?
I would just look and go, you see that bomb that he beat the corner on, ran past him and caught it. That is not a 3-yard crossing route, Arthur. So that means that your most talented player you ever had in Tennessee, your most talented wideout you ever had in Tennessee, apologies to Derrick Henry, that could be argued, I guess, was never put in the right position. And let me add that to the tight end we drafted at 4 and the wide receiver we drafted at 8. So actually, what is it you do here?
Yeah, in 2019, AJ Brown had 20 deep targets, which are targets 15 or more yards downfield. That was 28th among all wide receivers. In 2020, he had 11, 58th. In 2021, he had 11, 55th. 2022, he had 28, which was 7th. And he was second among all wide receivers with 594 yards on throws, 20 or more yards downfield. And he also racked up an awful lot of yak. So, yeah, as I said to you when we discussed this earlier in the week, fire them, hire them back so you can fire them again.
It's unacceptable Literally
But-
unacceptable.
But, and I do stress this importantly, as an Eagles fan, thank you.
Yeah, exactly right. And yeah, anyway, back to the Eagle, staying with the Eagles. Sorry, I assume right now you're on spot. You, Ben Solak, Fran Duffy, Sheil Kapadia, John Gonzalez, Colleen Wolfe, flipping heck, we know a lot of Eagles fans.
John Barshard.
John Barshard are all on Spotrac, and you're staring at two contracts. Those two contracts are Kyler Murray and Deshaun Watson, and going, okay, Mr. Agent Man, what ball are you going to pull out? Because you must all hope to God he pulls out the Deshaun Watson's an outlier. Let's not talk about it. I want more than Kyler Murray. However, Jalen Hurts, 1,000,000% should walk in and say, I am not playing for a single penny less than Deshaun Watson. Full on Lamar Jackson mode.
The Eagles are not giving a fully guaranteed contract to a quarterback.
I agree with you, and that's why I sent you a text earlier on the Ringer NFL Draft Show. It was mentioned in dispatches. The Eagles' Twitter has started a what would we do if we drafted Anthony Richardson 10? Because we're the quarterback factory. We can let Jalen play his 4 years, then play Anthony Richardson.
No, you do that for running backs. You don't do that for quarterbacks. I've said the Eagles should be looking at the Kyler Murray deal and saying we go above that, but they're not doing fully guaranteed.
No, I know they're not. But what I'm saying, I agree with you. But what I'm saying is, like, and this is a Cleveland Browns issue, right? That they have caused. That if you're an agent, I'm not going to you. I know I'm not getting a fully guaranteed offer from the Philadelphia Eagles, but that is absolutely 100% my starting position. Why would I start lower than those figures guaranteed? That would be naive of me.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
you're
Murray
hoping
plus.
for somewhere between a number above Murray, and that's acceptable, I guess. And I assume, based on the fact that he is a second round draft pick and you don't have that additional year, this is something that has to happen this summer, right?
Oh yeah, the longer it waits, the more expensive he gets. And I should point out as well, of course, that none of us are looking at spot rack. We look at over the cap.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, of course.
Friend of the pod, Jason.
Of course.
But yeah, I think the big advantage that Jalen Hurts has with the Eagles over what Kyler Murray had is this team likes him, and they're not going to be backdoored into paying him and then inserting nonsense clauses in his contract because, well, if we've got to sign him, you've got to do this. It'll be no, we want him here. We want to sign him. So that's obviously going to be in his favour.
Neil, final question, which is one of those silly ones. The Super Bowl LVII, Las Vegas, Nevada, which, I mean, unbelievable. Like, what a place. Although, bad news for everybody. I believe there's only two places in the NFL that have PGA Tour style grass. One of them is Arizona, and the other one is Las Vegas. And as we saw in Arizona, it's a fucking ice rink. Who's more likely to be back there next year, the Eagles or the Chiefs?
We obviously, predictions are hard, especially about the future. But I'm going to assume that Patrick Mahomes is still going to be the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs in 2023. So I'm going to say the Chiefs.
See, yes, in theory, that is like the logical situation. However, this year, Patrick Mahomes had to beat Trevor Lawrence and then Joe Burrow. All the quarterbacks in said conference right now are Lamar Jackson. We also
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. We're also probably going to get Aaron Rodgers. Whereas, and I know, we talked about it in the kind of context of, like, oh, have they played anyone? But not in that context, more in just the who you've got to play conversation. The Philadelphia Eagles played Brock Purdy / Johnson and Daniel Jones. So the best team is probably the Kansas City Chiefs. The team more likely to get back to the Super Bowl is the Philadelphia Eagles, because they have a much easier way to get to the Super Bowl because they play in the NFC.
True. But we've had a few seasons where we've been made to look silly,
of course,
by betting against Tom Brady. I'm not making that mistake again, so I'm happy to be proved wrong by expecting greatness from Mahomes season after season. So I'm going to say Patrick Mahomes.
What I'm saying is, when I say more likely, it doesn't mean that I don't expect both of them to get back there. I'm just saying, it's easier. Let's go on to kind of a fantasy questions in relation to the Super Bowl, Neil, and the players in it. And I think the first question, we talked about Jalen Hurts already. But right now, is he QB1? He scored 41 freaking fantasy points in the Super Bowl. It's no mean feat.
Assuming that he's still going to be a factor running the ball, we have that that joy of having the Konami code. Probably not going to run, you would hope, 10 or more times a game every time. But if he's still a threat to do it, and we saw that he did come on as a passer, and if we can have a full season of Smith, Brown, Goddard, if they can upgrade the third wide receiver as opposed to Quez Watkins. By the way, there's a play that that doesn't seem to be getting an awful lot of airtime. Yeah, you dropped it, mate. But other things have taken over and clouded that narrative. If we assume no drop-off, or a slight drop-off from the Eagles, whatnot, there's no reason why Hurts can't be the QB1 if he can play all 17 games, as it were, but all 16 that are fantasy relevant. Yeah, because Patrick Mahomes is a mobile quarterback. He's not a running quarterback. Josh Allen is the only one who would be similar, I would have thought. Obviously, Mahomes has a exceptionally high touchdown rate, and that keeps him up there. But for me, you compare one of those three, but Hurts is as likely as any of the others.
We talked briefly about the running game, and I know we delighted getting our fingers burnt multiple times by picking running backs from Andy Reid teams, but Isaiah Pacheco's going to be drafted high in fantasy drafts, right?
He is going to be drafted high. The problem is, though, that he's not going to be the guy. They're going to work in other running backs. Do I think Pacheco's going to get the bulk of the carries? Probably. Is he going to command a 10 to 15% target share? Probably not. Because even when he's been the lead back now, he's ceded a lot of the passing down work to Jerick McKinnon. So even if it's not Jerick McKinnon, there's going to be someone else. But Pacheco will probably go early and a lot higher than I'd be prepared to take him.
Can Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown both be top 10 wide receivers next year?
I think so. I think the Eagles' schedule next year is going to be slightly tougher than it was this year. And as I say, we don't know what they're going to do at running back. It's still going to be a committee, I would assume, because I still enjoy these drafts that have them taking Bijan Robinson. It's cute. Don't see it happening, but it's cute. So if the Eagles find themselves in more neutral situations, we've seen that this season, when it is neutral, they're just as likely to pass as to run. So if they can, still concentrate a target tree with those three main guys, there's no reason at all. Devonta Smith had a few games last season where he did nothing from a fantasy point of view, and he still finished with 95 receptions and 1,000+ yards. AJ Brown, as we've known, has shown he can beat the deep threat and the yak threat, and they both seem to have this chemistry with Jalen Hurts. So I think they could both be top 12 wide receivers.
Final question, Neil. If I'm in the top 5, am I silly taking Travis Kelce?
if I'm in the top 5, I'm taking Kelsey and Mahomes in the second round, and I'll take it from there. Because you've locked down the best tight end, and it's not even close, and it still won't be close.
No.
Because he just refuses to give up. You've got Mahomes, so you've got the pair there, and then just figure out running back and wide receiver after that. I know we're not supposed to take tight ends that early, but given the strategic importance and the market value he has of just being streets ahead of absolutely everyone else, it's a headache you won't have to worry about. You won't have to read my ramblings on a weekly basis about how you need to stream a tight end, because while it's a nice, he got me 8 to 12 points there, one of mine's never going to give you that ceiling that Kelsey still is. So lock in Mahomes, lock in Kelsey, and then just pound running back and wide receiver after that.
Awesome. Let's get on to the coaches, Neil. So 5 new coaches hired, and I'm interested to think what we see from a kind of what we expect from them as coaches, and also do we see any major impact on a fantasy point of view. First coach we look at is Shane Steichen. Done a wonderful job as offensive coordinator since he took over the play calling duty, because we shouldn't forget that he originally didn't do that. Nick Sirianni did that, and then the middle way through last season, he took over and he did a wonderful job from there, and Jalen Hurts has obviously worked with him really well. Right now, they haven't got a quarterback. I don't know if you know, but the owner is mates with people in Chicago, and also highlighted that guy from Alabama is good, which I'm sure his GM was absolutely ecstatic about. But what do you expect from Steichen, and do you expect any pros and cons for the Jonathan Taylors of this world?
Well, he's come out and said we're going to pass to score and run to win, which is pretty much what the Eagles have been doing. It's also the way you should do it. As you made this comment, 15-year-olds playing Madden know that's how it goes. Since week 8 of 2021, the Eagles were 51-49 in pass to run in neutral game situations. They ran the second most no huddle of any team, and they had the most plays per game in neutral situations. So they were averaging like 68 plays per game. So that's good. We've seen that's what we want to do. Obviously, it's maybe that pass to run ratio will go slightly up depending on what quarterback they take. I don't think any of these top prospects are runners. I think they're mobile, but they're not runners. So if it is Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, they'll probably pass a little bit more than they'll run. We've seen, as I say, Steichen has gone from a situation where it was a platoon of running backs, whereas while he's been the guy in Indianapolis, Jonathan Taylor has taken, I think it's like 72% of the carries when he's been playing. So I think Taylor will still be the focal point of the offense, but I think they're probably likely as well to bring in a running back to help take some of the receiving work. So I'd still be comfortable taking Taylor in the first round, assuming he's back healthy. They need to invest in quarterback. They need to make sure the offensive line keeps that quarterback up to date, upright. And they need a few more weapons to catch the passes, because at the moment they've got Michael Pittman. And rookie quarterbacks are not great for wide receivers. So I wouldn't be thinking if they take CJ Stroud or Bryce Young that's Michael Pittman top 5 in fantasy. He'll probably still just be a good, solid wide receiver 2, but he'll be better than he was last year.
D'Amico Ryans takes over in Houston. Right now, they really didn't have anyone fancy relevant, possible exception of Brandon Cooks. For the love of God, free that man, by the way. Although they probably won't now because they're going to take a quarterback. Although they now are not... Well, they are, but now they're not in position to take the one they want necessarily, although they'll tell us whoever they picked, that was their first choice anyway. Is there a fancy impact for D'Amico Ryans? I don't think right now there is, because there's no fancy relevant players really on the roster.
No, and again, we've seen, this is the, another coach with Eagles connections, of course. Shane Steichen, former coordinator, D'Amico Ryans, former Eagles linebacker. Don't worry, when we come to the others, I'll keep going. He's brought in an analytics-based offensive play caller who's from the Shanahan scheme. So we've got Shanahan East in New York, or we had it, and now we've got Shanahan South in Texas. So it depends, as I say, on the players they bring in. I mean, one thing they might do if they are a Shanahan scheme, do they want their Deebo Samuel? That could be that. Is it Zay Flowers from Boston College? He's a bit of a, he's a good receiver and he has experience carrying the ball as well. I think he averaged like 6 yards per carry or something for Boston College. So maybe that's a way they go. It's tough to say because they've just got so little talent. But I think they're one of these that, again, defensive coach from a Shanahan coaching tree, they're going to want to run the ball.
Look, Frank Reich. Eagle connection again. The Panthers are sneaky. Well, I said sneaky. I think I said great.
You said great.
Weeks ago, I didn't mean great. I meant good. Although I do like the Frank Reich hire in link to that. Still no quarterback though. But how does this help DJ Moore and others?
Well, we've seen that Frank Reich can produce with a litany of different quarterbacks. So depending on who it is, we saw last year that, assuming Frank Reich is sensible enough to say, this is what I've got, so this is what I'll do. If they can keep Donta Foreman with Chuba Hubbard, that's 2 serviceable running backs. They've got DJ Moore. We'll tell you what, here's a quarterback. 3-step drop, get out your hands and give it to Moore and let him work wonders with the ball in his hands. So I think, to quote Michael Scott, I'm ready to be hurt again by DJ Moore. But I'm not really interested in any other pieces. I mean, the running backs, as I say, you'll never know what week it is. Is it a week where they're favourites? There's probably a Foreman week. Are they going to be trailing? It's Chuba Hubbard. Do you know when these weeks are going to be? Probably not. So I'll take DJ Moore, even though they're likely to have a rookie quarterback as well. Again, depending on where he falls, if I can get DJ Moore in the 5th, 6th, 7th round as my wide receiver 2, I'd probably be okay with it.
Next one is your friend, Jonathan Gannon, who's head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. They will at some point play Kyler Murray, although probably not for the majority of the season. This might be a freebie season for Jonathan Gannon, as I think these guys are going to stink. And you assume that D-Hop gets traded, and therefore what is there in Arizona?
It's hard to say because I don't believe he's appointed an offensive coordinator yet. So if we're not going to have Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, who apparently had a no-trade clause, but it was voided when he got suspended last year. So that decision is now out of his hands.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's tough to say without, coaching. When the new coach comes in, I don't subscribe to this is great news for him because this is what happened last time. This is the Kyle Shanahan targets his ex. Yeah, his ex was Julio Jones. So, yeah, so would I. But without an offensive coordinator, you don't even know what the tendencies are going to be. So I just think this is a terrible roster. I say Kyler Murray, don't know when he's going to be back. The defense is going to be trash. So it's a team that in theory is they'll be behind a lot. So what? So we're going to have a hobbled Kyler Murray thrown to Rondale Moore. Gee, thanks. Where do I sign up for that? So this is an enigma, and until we know who the offensive coordinator is, I'm not interested.
Final one, Neil, and I guess the biggest name is Sean Payton.
The Eagles quarterbacks coach in 97, 98.
Yeah. Which means all 5 with the Eagles connections. There's only really one question for Sean Payton, and that is the Russell Wilson quandary, and how does he... I wanted to say fix him, but I think it's probably rein him in.
Coexist.
Yeah, for long enough to get rid of him, because in theory the plan is clearly to start Taysom Hill.
I think it wouldn't be a stretch to say Sean Payton's already sick of Russell Wilson, and they've officially spent no time together.
Did you see the story today about Drew Brees?
Yeah.
Have you seen the story? So, for those who haven't, Drew Brees has allegedly contacted Sean Payton to tell him to tell Russell Wilson to stop bothering him.
This is, Jimmy Conway telling Robert De Niro to leave him alone, on the set of Goodfellas, isn't it? this is not going to work.
It's gonna be fun though.
Oh, it's essentially it's a couple getting divorced and one of them remarrying to continue the argument they had with their last partner. This is the Broncos just like, we've really made a mistake here. How can we antagonize him that maybe he'll retire? I worry for this. It's in 2024 that the Broncos, whoever they've got under centre, might be watchable, but I generally just do not think Peyton has come back to put up with Wilson's shit.
So I assume you'd think that Patrick Mahomes' winning record against the Denver Broncos continues in 2023?
Very likely.
Great stuff, Neil. Neil, as always, been a great year. Privileged to go through the whole season. We'll take a week or so off, recharge, and then get the good guys on. Get them talking draft. We'll get one of my favourites on, especially this year, given that we actually have good quarterbacks, and that's Mark Schofield. Find out how he's feeling and whether he's booked his trip to that new underwater place they're building in Riyadh to give some money to his new overlords for Newcastle. Neil, before we get Mark and others for draft season, SZN, on the phone, where can people catch you?
Follow me on Twitter at ndutton13. This week, you can see my piece on odds of the first wide receiver to be drafted. That's at number 5. You can look at my route report, where I look at all the routes, the different pass routes the quarterbacks threw this year, who was the best, who scored the most touchdowns, who was the most efficient, who was the worst. That's also at number 5. And also, I have my 5th-year option primer for the 2020 first-round picks. That's on RotoViz. And also, the newest edition of Gridiron Magazine. It was the Super Bowl preview, but it also has a review of the 2022 season, including 5 lessons I learned in fantasy.
Amazing, Neil. Amazing. I am at Mainty7. Combine me at waxing_lyrical. I also did the Touchdown Reviews Super Bowl review, and that came out yesterday. Really good listen. Me, Thomas, Taib, and Joe talking all things about the game. We talked about Rihanna. We talked about the national anthem. And we also predicted who will go to the Super Bowl next year. And as I said, as a kind of gag / bit / a little bit truthful, picked the Lions against the Cincinnati Bengals. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a privilege this season. It's been good. Neil got close, not close enough. Maybe next year for Neil, grenades. Horseshoes and hand grenades, as the great Gorilla Monsoon would say. The good thing for me is this is shizzle I don't have to worry about for a long time. And I'm, you don't have pain, so it's fine.
You're dead inside.
Correct. And until then, till next time, these top guys are out.